As the years pass and gray hairs multiply, many people over 60 begin to wonder if they're still seen as sexually attractive, especially when popular culture rarely showcases mature beauty, and when intimacy becomes more emotional than physical, more nuanced than impulsive. It's easy to internalize the belief that you've become invisible or irrelevant in a world that worships youth. But the truth is far more empowering. Because age brings a magnetism that can't be faked or found in wrinkle creams. It's in the way you carry yourself, the energy you give off, and the unique confidence that only comes from life experience. And one of the most overlooked signs that you're still sexually attractive after 60 is that people still make sustained eye contact with you, especially strangers or acquaintances. Because true sexual appeal isn't just about curves or muscles, it's about presence. And when someone is drawn to you, they'll linger with their eyes just a few seconds longer than normal, or glance back at you when they think you're not looking. And these subtle moments are often dismissed or missed entirely by older adults who assume they're no longer seen. But make no mistake, if you still command attention in a room, if people's eyes seem to light up when you smile, or if someone's posture straightens when you enter a conversation, you're radiating something deeper than skin-level attractiveness. You're radiating charisma, warmth, and a kind of self-assurance that only comes with age. And another powerful indicator that you're still sexually attractive is how often people seek your company or conversation, because sexual appeal at this stage of life is often expressed through intellectual engagement and emotional resonance, not flashy flirtation. And if others consistently gravitate toward you, even just to talk or ask your opinion, it's a strong sign they're drawn to your energy, your mind, and the quiet authority you exude. And this is especially true if younger people or the opposite sex make small excuses to stay in your presence longer than necessary. Whether they ask you to repeat a story, laugh a little too hard at your jokes, or compliment your voice, your hair, or even something as simple as your choice of words. These are all coded signals of interest, and while they may not be as overt as they were in your 20s, they often mean much more. Because they're not based on impulse but genuine admiration. And yet another overlooked sign that you still hold sexual appeal is how comfortable people feel opening up to you emotionally, because emotional intimacy is often the foundation of physical attraction later in life. And when people instinctively trust you, when they share secrets, memories, or vulnerabilities quickly, it's because your presence offers a kind of safety and sensuality that's very real, even if unspoken. And this is why so many relationships that begin in later life start with deep conversations rather than physical chemistry, and why you might find someone suddenly saying, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but," or, "You're so easy to talk to," which might sound innocent but often signals an unconscious desire for deeper connection. And the reality is, many people find maturity irresistibly attractive because it means stability, self-knowledge, and emotional grounding. And when you combine that with self-care, a sense of humor, and an openness to life, your attractiveness multiplies, regardless of what your reflection shows. And if you've ever felt like someone lingered in a hug a little too long, brushed your hand and didn't pull away, or found silly reasons to be near you or help you with small things, those moments are not coincidences. They are invitations, subtle but sincere, and they're happening more than you might notice. Because you're still giving off that glow of desirability, whether you believe it or not. Another major sign that you're still sexually attractive after 60, even if you've begun to doubt it, is the way people respond to your voice, your laugh, or even the rhythm of your speech. Because as we grow older, the surface-level cues like body shape or skin smoothness often fade into the background, while our vocal tone, our expressiveness, and the comfort or confidence we radiate become powerful indicators of desirability. And you may not realize it, but if someone compliments your laugh or tells you they could listen to you talk all day, or if they seem unusually soothed by your voice during conversations, they're reacting to something deeply sensual. Because sexual attraction at this age is more about energy and emotional resonance than it is about raw physical features. And when your voice has a calming, grounding effect or your laughter makes people light up, it speaks to an emotional vibration that naturally draws others in. And let's not forget the way you touch people or allow yourself to be touched, because touch remains one of the most primal forms of communication, and how others react to even the lightest physical interaction, like a touch on the arm, a brief hug, or even a guiding hand on someone's back, can say more than words ever could, and if those gestures are reciprocated with closeness, smiles, or prolonged touch, it's likely because you still emit a warmth and sensuality that people crave, even if they can't articulate it. And then there's personal style, which is not about looking trendy or trying to mimic youth, but about how well you present yourself with intention, because whether it's the way you choose your clothes, the scent you wear, how you care for your hair or skin, or how you maintain your posture, these all become extensions of your self-respect and confidence is the most magnetic force of attraction there is. And if someone tells you that you always look put together, or that they love your style, or even that you have a glow about you, they're not just being polite, they're reacting to the deeper aura of vitality and presence you still carry. And many people over 60 underestimate the power of eye contact. But if you've ever locked eyes with someone and felt that brief electric pause, that moment of shared intensity or curiosity, that's a clear reflection of chemistry. And it's important to remember that attraction doesn't die with age. It matures, it deepens. It slows down just enough to let you savor it, and it shows up in moments like shared silences, the tone of someone's voice when they say your name, or even the small rituals of connection like someone remembering your favorite tea or bringing up something personal you once mentioned. Because when someone finds you sexually attractive, even if they don't express it directly, they're attuned to the small details that make you who you are. And your presence leaves an impression long after you leave the room. And one of the most underestimated signs that you're still desirable is the jealousy or competitiveness you notice from others. Yes, even in your 60s and 70s, subtle rivalries still exist, especially in social circles. And if you've ever sensed another person trying to one-up you, interrupt you when you're speaking, or suddenly acting colder after you've shared a moment with someone else, it's often because they perceive you as competition, which only happens when others sense your charisma or attractiveness is drawing attention away from them. And while most won't say it out loud, their actions speak volumes. And the truth is, many seniors still find themselves in complex dynamics of admiration, attraction, and even romantic tension, but may not recognize the signs because society has trained us to believe those feelings are for the young. But in reality, those feelings never go away, they just change shape, become more refined, more nuanced, and more rewarding when acknowledged. And if you find that people remember little things about you, like how you take your coffee, what stories you enjoy telling, or the way you tilt your head when you're amused, it's often because they're paying closer attention to you than you think, which is yet another silent but undeniable indicator that you're still very much seen, felt, and even desired. A third powerful sign that you're still sexually attractive after 60, despite what the mirror or media might make you believe, is when others naturally open up to you, especially in ways that feel vulnerable, flirtatious, or emotionally revealing. Because when someone feels safe yet excited around you, it often means they're feeling drawn not just to your kindness, but to the magnetic pull of your emotional and physical presence. And it's in these moments, when someone leans closer than necessary, shares a personal memory, compliments your perspective, or even seeks your opinion on something deeply intimate, that true desire makes itself known without fanfare or fireworks. And it might show up in a lingering goodbye, a slightly nervous laugh, or even a light joke that clearly carries a deeper meaning. And whether you realize it or not, people tend to gravitate toward those they subconsciously desire. And if you're still the person others choose to sit next to at dinner, call late at night, or text just to hear your thoughts, there's likely an unspoken allure at play that goes beyond friendship or politeness. And while it's easy to dismiss these interactions as coincidental or simply nice, the truth is that sexual attraction after 60 often hides in subtle gestures. A hand brushing yours longer than expected, someone finding excuses to see you again, or even the way someone mirrors your body language without realizing it. And what makes it even more compelling is that your age brings a calm certainty that younger people can replicate, and that calmness becomes an aphrodisiac, especially to others who are tired of superficial charm and crave real connection. And if you've ever been told that your presence is comforting, grounding, or different from others, that's not just flattery, it's attraction dressed in emotional language. And another huge yet often ignored sign is how often others seek your advice or confide in you, because intimacy is rooted in trust. And if someone sees you as trustworthy enough to share personal thoughts or seek comfort, it means they already feel close to you, and closeness is the first step to deeper connection, which often includes sexual desire, especially in later years when sex becomes more emotional than mechanical, and when someone notices how you smell, even if they say it casually, like, "You always smell nice," or "Your cologne/perfume reminds me of something familiar." That's an unconscious cue that they associate your presence with comfort, warmth, and arousal, and those olfactory signals become even more powerful with age since we begin to prioritize emotional safety and memory-rich sensations over flashy appearances. And if someone compliments you in ways that are oddly specific, like mentioning the texture of your hands, the sound of your laugh, or the way you move through a room, it's because those things have triggered a deep, sensual response in them, and those responses are not platonic even if they sound polite, because there's a quiet intensity in people's words when they're sexually drawn to someone, and you've likely experienced moments where someone touches their hair more around you, adjusts their clothes, or suddenly becomes more animated. These are biological responses that people can't fake, and if you've triggered those in others, it's not accidental, and it means your energy still has a powerful, lasting effect. And one final thing to consider is this: if people smile at you, for no obvious reason, seem to stand a little taller in your presence, or show signs of nervous excitement, those are not mere signs of kindness or respect, they're expressions of desire filtered through the lens of maturity. Because unlike youthful attraction that's often loud and chaotic, attraction after 60 is quieter, richer, and more sincere, and the ones who feel it toward you may not always express it directly, but their bodies, voices, and eyes will reveal it every time they're near you. The fifth and final sign that you're still sexually attractive after 60, even if you've convinced yourself otherwise, is how people respond to your touch, or even just the idea of being close to you, because human beings are deeply wired to recognize comfort, intimacy, and sensuality not just through sight or sound but through proximity, and if others naturally lean in when they talk to you, seem to melt when you place a hand gently on their arm, or linger in your embrace a little longer than socially necessary, these aren't meaningless gestures, they're visceral, instinctive reactions to your presence, which has matured into something both nurturing and irresistibly magnetic. And many people after 60 develop a refined kind of sensuality that doesn't demand attention, it invites it, quietly and powerfully. And when your presence makes someone feel more relaxed, more grounded, and more seen, that's often mistaken for just being nice or warm, but in reality it's a form of deep sexual appeal that speaks louder than flashy clothes or youthful features ever could. And if people seem to perk up when you enter a room, touch their hair more, adjust their clothing, or display nervous energy around you, those are primal cues that you still evoke attraction, and your energy communicates confidence, wisdom, emotional availability, and even subtle flirtation whether or not you're actively trying to be flirtatious. And this is especially true in settings like casual group gatherings, community events, religious services, or even just a simple walk through a park, because the people who steal glances at you, ask for help with simple tasks, or use humor as a way to connect with you may not realize they're expressing attraction, but they are. And if you've ever caught someone looking at you when they thought you weren't paying attention, or if someone has complimented something about you that no one else notices, like your voice, the way you hold a coffee cup, or the way you say certain words, those are clues that your allure goes far beyond the surface. And one of the most powerful ways attraction shows itself after 60 is in the desire for physical closeness that isn't overtly sexual but carries undeniable chemistry, like sitting closer than necessary on a bench, touching your hand when making a point, or walking in step with you even when they could just as easily walk ahead. And it's in these shared, quiet rhythms that deeper attraction blooms, often unspoken but absolutely present. And even the way someone hugs you, if it's full-bodied, slow, and lingering rather than rushed and one-armed, reveals a longing for connection. And in many ways, sexual attraction after 60 is no longer about performance or physical perfection. It becomes about how you make someone feel, how safe and excited they are in your presence. and how much they find themselves thinking about you after you've parted ways. And if people look forward to seeing you again, smile when they hear your voice, or seem a little flustered when they stand near you, then you are absolutely still desirable, whether you believe it or not, because desirability doesn't retire at 60, it evolves, deepens, and often becomes more powerful because it's tied to emotional resonance, life experience, and authenticity. And if you're still curious, open, and kind, if you still listen deeply and laugh genuinely, if you still express joy or interest in others, then you are radiating a kind of energy that no cream, surgery, or youth potion could ever replicate, and that energy is intoxicating to those who are emotionally awake and looking for something real. And the truth is, many people after 60 become even more sexually attractive than they were decades earlier because their beauty is no longer tied to a fleeting physical standard but to a timeless human need to be seen, to be valued, and to be touched not just on the skin but on the soul. And if you've ever been told that someone feels good around you or that being with you is easy, don't overlook those statements, because they're not just casual, they're coded expressions of attraction, and chances are, you've already been turning heads, melting hearts, and stirring desires long after you thought that chapter was over, because the truth is, attraction isn't about age, it's about presence, and yours is more captivating than you think.